everyone. Hello. Welcome to another edition of Kids Art Lab. My name is Ms. Alex and I work for the St. Johns County Public Library System. I'm so thrilled you've decided to join me for Art Lab today. And I have a very, very interesting artist that I can't wait to share with you. So we're just going to get right to it, okay? Let's see. Today we are talking about Esther Mahlangu. And she is amazing. This is Esther. She was born in 1935 and she is still living today. And she continues to paint today too. Let me show you a little bit more about her. She was born November 11th, which is the day before my birthday actually, to the southern Ndebele tribe of South Africa. She learned to paint when she was only 10 years old, though she tried to learn earlier. And when she was an adult, she lived and worked in a historical village and museum of Ndebele culture. Now, she didn't become a famous artist until she was 51 years old. At that point, she was discovered and she was able to preserve her culture by continuing to share it with the world and teaching younger generations the nearly lost art of painting, these traditional designs that you can see on the right-hand side here. Now, the designs that you see in this picture of Esther Mahlangu, they are not on canvas or on paper, are they? Can you tell what they're on? They're on buildings, on walls of the fences around her house as well. So this is a kind of mural that Esther's tribe has been doing for hundreds of years. And Esther was one of the very first people to, or rather was the first person to introduce this style of painting to the Western world. I can't wait to show you how she did it. But first, a quote from Esther. She said, "To paint is in my heart and in my blood." It is passed down in her tribe through the women, this traditional art of painting the outside of their houses and the walls surrounding their homes. So literally, it is in her heart and her blood. Now, this is where Esther lives, in Middelburg, South Africa. So it's the very southern part of Africa there, and we are currently broadcasting from Florida over there, way on the left-hand side in the United States. So you can see it's pretty far away. So this is the very first piece of artwork that Esther showed the world. She was discovered by some French researchers who found her artwork at her home. So they brought her to this exhibition that was called The Magicians of the Earth to showcase traditional artists from around the world. Now, this is 30 years ago that she was discovered and when she created this. So they brought her here and showed her a recreation of her home, complete with a blank canvas for her to paint. So she created these geometric murals that were based on the designs from her Ndebele tribe. So this took her 2 months. They gave her a 2-month, what's called a residency, to create this artwork for the exhibition. And this is what introduced Esther and her Ndebele tribe to the rest of the world. It's pretty amazing to see, isn't it? Let's see. The only difference here, and it's kind of a big one, with this house compared to her own, is it's got an aluminum roof. Now, her house in South Africa has a thatch roof that's made from straw. So not everything is quite exactly as it was. Now, what? This is a bit different, right? I don't think any of the other art lab classes that I've taught you have had a car in them. And this is a BMW 525i, and this is one of the art cars that the company BMW commissioned artists to paint. So Esther was asked to paint one of these cars, and she was the first woman and the first non-Western person to do so. So other artists like Andy Warhol were asked to do these art cars as well. And this car has been exhibited internationally as recently that I found as 2017. And she painted this in way back in 1991. So not only is the outside of the car painted, but the inside, the console, everything. It's really a sight to see, don't you think? Have you ever seen a car covered in art before? If you have, I would love to hear about it in the comments. Okay, now this is on canvas. So this is a design that Esther did that was inspired by the designs from her culture, from the Ndebele tribe. But it is, more mobile, more easily able to be displayed in museums and galleries, and it was painted in 2018. So Esther does continue to paint even now in her 80s, but she doesn't use rulers or even sketch out her paintings ahead of time. She just lets it flow. She doesn't plan it out. But her paintings can now be found in museums across the world, as well as in the homes of celebrities. So like Oprah Winfrey, John Legend, they have Esther Mahlangu's artwork in their homes, which is pretty cool. Now, what do you think of her painting here? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one, as well as the other artwork by Esther that I have shown you in the class today. Now look really closely at this one. Can you tell how symmetrical it is? Symmetrical, that means if you take it a line down the middle and you look on either side, they are pretty similar in what you see. Even though it's not the exact same colors on either side, you can see the same designs are repeated. So we've got red in the upper left-hand corner and the same red design in the bottom right-hand corner. Everything is the same if you put a line through the very middle of this painting, except one side in the center is pink, the other side is blue. And you've got those other colors that are swip-swapping on either side, but it's still the same design on both sides of that imaginary line. What do you think about it? It's interesting to look at, huh? Now, I told you that Esther doesn't use rulers or pencils to sketch anything out, but do you want to know about the tools that she does use? On the left-hand side there, those are her paintbrushes. Can you tell what they're made out of? I'll give you a second to guess. Did you guess chicken feathers? No? No, those on the left-hand side, those are chicken feathers that Esther uses to create her paintings. And those are also some cut plastic water bottles for her paint. So not necessarily fancy tools, but she makes some amazing artwork out of it. So that just goes to show it's not necessarily about how expensive or fancy the tools are that you're working with. It's really the talent behind the tools. And on the right-hand side there, you can see Esther working on one of her paintings. She pays very, very close attention to it, and I can't believe how straight those lines are without using any kind of ruler or painter's tape or anything like that. That shows you what years and years of practice will do. If you stick to it and you work hard, you can create some amazing, amazing things. Now you can learn more about Esther Mahlangu from this book that is in our library system called Little Dreamers, Visionary Women Around the World. Esther's in there along with a lot of other brilliant, brilliant women, not only artists, but engineers, writers, all sorts of ladies that I would love for you to learn about. Now, let's go ahead and make some art inspired by Esther and the designs from her Ndebele tribe. See you in a moment. Okay everyone, for today's project we're going to need paper, a ruler, a coin, pencil, water, paint, and paintbrushes. Step 1 is to sketch out your design. Using a ruler, I started with a simple kind of grid design, making a frame, and was able to base my sketch off of that. I decided a nickel was the perfect size to add some circles to my design as well. And just start filling in the grid with different designs wherever you would like. Just remember to stay as symmetrical as possible with your design, as keeping with the Ndebele tribe's inspiration. Go ahead and add triangles, circles, X's, rectangles, whichever you would like to give your painting some depth. Step 2 is to fill in the lines using paint. I'm using acrylic paint here, but if you don't have acrylic paint, you can certainly use whatever you have on hand, whether it's watercolors, tempera, or even just, good old markers or crayons. You can use any kind of materials you have for today's artwork. Now I like to use a larger brush to kind of fill in the bigger portions, and then I take a smaller brush to get the finer details in there, as you can see me going around the edges of these different shapes. I also decided to choose a color palette of the rainbow for my artwork today. What kind of color palette are you going to use? I can't wait to see what you decide on. And I even went in rainbow order when I was adding my, my paints to my canvas today. Roy G. Biv, of course ending with violet. Step 3 is to outline your different geometric designs. I used black paint for this, however, it might be easier to use maybe like a thick-tipped Sharpie, or any kind of permanent marker that you happen to have. I just decided to use acrylic paint since that's what I was using for the rest of my artwork. Now just be careful as you're going around and try not to cover up too much of the colors of your paint for this portion. Be very careful going around your circles. You can see I made my lines a little bit thicker there than on some of the other ones. And don't forget to erase those grid lines that you drew at the beginning. We don't want those in our final piece. Ta-da! For more fun projects, please check out SJCPLS.org. And if you make today's project, please take a photo and post it in the comments. We can't wait to see what you're doing. Have a great one!